criticize it. Legalize it.
And now let's go to the president to hear his views on the issue.
Hello, people of America. When it comes to medical marijuana, I have more of a practical stance on the issue. My attitude is that if it's treatment for some sort of glaucoma or cancer, it really should be okay. There's really no difference when doctors prescribe morphine or some other sort of treatment or anything like that. I think there are legitimate concerns in not wanting people to grow their own, start their own shops or setting their own up mom and pop shops, because at that point it gets difficult to regulate. And again, I'm not familiar with all the initiatives that were passed and the safeguards that were set in place. I think that using medical marijuana in the same way and with the same controls as doctors have prescribed it, that's entirely appropriate. My attitude is that if science and doctors suggest that the best palliative care and it's the best way to relieve pain and suffering is for people to use medical marijuana, then that's something I'm open to, because there's no difference between that and morphine. Thank you.
Some call it marijuana. Yeah.
Now let's hear from a member of Congress.
Mr. President, members of Congress, honored guests. In 1970, Congress passed the Controlled Substance Act, which states that the manufacturing, importation, possession, use, and distribution of certain substances are illegal and prohibited. This means that even if a state were to pass a law legalizing marijuana or any other controlled substance, the federal government is legally able to go in and regulate. Even if there's a state-run or private marijuana dispensary, the federal government has every right to go in and shut it down, confiscate all products and materials, and can rightfully lock up any person in connection with it. Slowly, very slowly, we are seeing a shift in the amount of states that are changing their policies to make medical marijuana use legal. However, we have yet to see those same changes in Congress. That is not to say that there are not many congressional representatives who are in favor of marijuana legalization. The matter has not been put to a major vote in recent years, though the Controlled Substance Act has yet to be reversed or replaced. According to the Gonzalez v. Wright case, it is because of the Commerce Clause in the 14th Amendment that Congress have an impact on the individual states. The whole issue with this case was that it was legal in the state of California to use homegrown medical marijuana, but it was illegal in the eyes of the federal government. So that is the issue with majority of the states that have legalized medical marijuana. It is the fight against federal law. Questions? Comments?
I'll never smoke weed with Willie again. My party's all over before it began. You can pour me.
And this is how the Supreme Court ruled.
In proceeding to give judgment in the present case, the court are deeply impressed with the importance of the principles which it involves and the magnitude and extent of the public interest and the great importance and value of the private rights, directly or indirectly, to be affected by it. The issue before this court, at its core, is one of state versus national jurisdiction, As prescribed in the Constitution, the federal government has neither right nor authority to govern the states and supersede their own laws. If the people of any of the several states desire to enact a law, so long as it does not violate the national constitution, they may do so unfettered and unrestricted. According to James Madison, the powers of the federal government are few and defined, whereas those powers left to the states are numerous and indefinite. In 1970, the federal government passed the Controlled Substances Act, which sets a national standard and scale for which substances are allowed and which are not allowed. Under the act, medicinal marijuana is prohibited. Therefore, in federal cases involving the sale or distribution of marijuana, the court has sided with the federal government. In the states, however, let it be reiterated that constitutional law applies, and the states are agents unto themselves in prescribing their own laws. In recent years, this court has set new precedent that will undoubtedly hold sway in future cases. In 1996, voters in the state of California passed the Compassionate Use Act, allowing for the use of physician-approved medical marijuana. Shortly thereafter, the Oakland Cannabis Buyers Cooperative began a dispensary for medical marijuana. The group hired doctors and nurses to determine legitimate need of patients to use medical marijuana as a pain reliever. When the federal government found out about the organization, they sent agents to shut it down and to confiscate the marijuana. Several grueling court battles ensued. At the local level, the courts ruled in favor of the government shutting down the cooperative. However, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the group violated no laws and could remain. Eventually, the case reached this Supreme Court, where in a unanimous 8-0 decision, it was ruled that the Federal Controlled Substances Act applied to the Oakland Cannabis Buyers Cooperative, and it was shut down. In today's world, the Supreme Court has claimed to itself the powers of judicial review, and therefore is the final arbiter and authority in determining constitutionality and law. States may pass their laws, but this court may overturn them and pronounce them unconstitutional if the validity and legality be challenged in court. Therefore, we hereby rule that the federal government supersedes state authority in these matters. Court adjourned. No pot for you.
And I know why. Why, man? Yeah, cause I got high. Because I got high. Because I got high. La da 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 da.
What do you think about legalizing marijuana?
I think it would cause like big problems in like the workplaces and stuff like that. Like I don't think it'd be good for employees to be coming to work high, so I don't think it's a very good thing.
Excuse me, sir, excuse me. What is your stance on legalizing marijuana?
I don't know. I don't really care.
I mean, people say it'd be good because you could tax it, but it's still not good for the body. It's not good for the mind. I'm not for it.
Thank you.
Do I think it should be legalized?
Screw you.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you say that one more time?
Screw her.
Oh. And
What's your stance
and what is your stance on legalizing marijuana?
Do it today.
What are your thoughts on legalizing marijuana?
Ooh, I wouldn't do it. Too many high people off marijuana.
Heck yeah. That's a good way of doing it.
What are your guys' thoughts on legalizing marijuana?
Don't do it.
It's bad.
Way bad.
Do it.
Good article for people to read. Time magazine, you know.
What are your thoughts on legalizing marijuana?
I don't think it's a very good idea, but to be honest with you, I think that whether you legalize it or not, kids are gonna do it anyways.
Oh. This is our group's opinion on it. While discussing whether or not our group was in agreement with legalizing the use of marijuana, we completely agreed that we do not support it. There are 4 main reasons that we came up with for not supporting legalizing marijuana.
First and foremost, being members of the church, the use of drugs goes against the word of wisdom, thus making the legalization of it a moral issue. Agreeing not only to live by church standards at BYH, but by keeping our bodies free from harmful substances on a regular and continuous basis, to legalize marijuana would be going against what we as members believe.
Second, Because it is a very addictive substance, legalizing marijuana would make it readily available to anyone at any time, thus enabling an addict to maintain his or her addiction.
Third, marijuana is known as the gateway drug. This means that people who use it are very likely to get into more addictive and harmful drugs, such as cocaine, meth, and heroin. Legalizing the gateway drug would be like inviting users to walk through the gates of all other harmful drugs.
Fourth, is a scientific medical fact that chronic use of marijuana leads to a huge depletion of brain cells, thus hindering the user's optimal thinking abilities.
For all these reasons, we stand firm in not legalizing marijuana. However, we did agree as a group that the legalization of marijuana is a state issue and should be dealt with on a state level. Therefore, the federal government should stay out.
I will advertise.